I'm sure Steiny and Goo are not in their cars yet, but I want to tell them a couple things. Starting with, I'm upset. I'm upset, and not so much at them.
I'm upset.
Well, I just want to I don't like when one of my favorite parts of the day doesn't happen. I don't like it when we don't do the crossover. And I know Steiny's got to golf, and I know it's been a long day of shaking hands and kissing babies and looking for the restroom during commercial breaks. I know how remotes go, but I really wanted to talk to the guys because they said all kinds of incorrect stuff as I drove up and down the entire Bay Area. Said all kinds of crazy things today that I wanted to talk to them about.
Like what?
Well, let's start with one. And I get where all these, I'm needling. But Steiny.
I know you're mad.
Well, I'm furious. Steiny said that he felt strongly that yesterday the organization sent a message to Brock Purdy. You're our guy. And yesterday did feel like that. But I wonder what you think about this, Dib. It feels to me like the 49ers didn't send a message to Brock Purdy yesterday. I don't think they sent a message at all. I think you all just heard them for the first time. You just heard them for the first time. And Goo kind of responded to that with, well, why would you need to pet your quarterback on the back and tell him he's the guy? You didn't need to do that with Jimmy. Again, I don't think that that's happening. Do you think that Brock Purdy in some way has got a confidence problem and the organization needed to come out and say this so that everybody understands who, pecking order, what, where? We did a show at the beginning of this week or late last week where we lined up all of the things different 49ers have said all summer long about how Brock Purdy's our quarterback. So I don't think yesterday was news to them. I think it was news to us.
Agreed. I think that the message yesterday was sent to the fan base. It wasn't sent to Brock Purdy. I don't think that Brock Purdy was sitting there on pins and needles wondering if he was QB1 or not. And when Kyle said what he said, Brock Purdy let out a collective, oh, thank God. God, I heard what I wanted to hear. I am QB1. After all, I think you're right, Mark, that the message yesterday was sent to the fan base and the football world in general of he's healthy, he's our guy, let's move forward and let's figure out everything else, which we saw today. QB2, well, that's up for grabs.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, how'd you rank the day?
In terms of
QB2, QB3, and QB4.
It's QB who is what it is. Because
okay, I like that.
Trey Lance did, in my opinion, didn't look great. Sam Darnold didn't look terrific, and Brandon Allen had the worst throw of the day, which could have been intercepted. And I know all the stats are going to come out, and I saw at least
I've got them right here in front of me.
Do you have it? Did you chart it? Or
I did not. No, this is from
I
our buddy.
who you're going to lean on because there was at least 10 different people charting it. I was next to David Lombardi for a lot of the practice.
Well, that's who I saw.
I talked to Matt Barrows. Yeah. I said hello to Cam Inman.
There was a
Matt Mayoko.
Not just
Mike
QB
Silver.
Who, by the way. Yeah,
Keep it going.
This was
even Guy Haberman and I had a moment.
Of Bay Area sports
and
media.
I talked to all of them.
Yep.
Eric Branch, I saw you. I didn't get a chance to say hello, unfortunately. Nick Wagoner was in.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He was in the building.
Jennifer Lee Chan.
Thank you.
Good conversation there.
Tracy Sandler,
sure,
who had an unbelievable appearance on the morning roast today.
Yes, she
Voice
did.
of Barbie.
Hysterical.
I mean, and I gave her a 5 out of 5.
Barbie, the 49er fan, is a new character.
My God.
I would like the little wind-up. You pull the string on the back of the doll.
She was incredible.
And it does Barbie, the 49er fan.
And Butcher wanted her to do a second one. She's like, you get one, Joe.
Exactly.
And I was like, oh, my God,
I get
your
paid
face.
for this
Dude,
voice.
It was so good. And I actually wanted to say hello to her and introduce myself, but I was kind of like in fanboy mode because her Barbie appearance.
It was incredible.
It was unbelievable on my way down.
And by the way, you know who else was there?
Drop it.
Our entire station.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Hit a bunch of them. Well, except for you, Grandy.
Yeah.
Except for you, Lucas. Somebody had to keep the lights on here.
An E-Dog.
Yeah. Well, same thing. You had to keep, if you didn't have to keep the lights on here, you were there.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. What's up? 95.7. Bonte Joe, do their show. Come on out. Steiny and Goo, right inside Hilton Santa Clara. You're there. I'm there. Sterling Bennett is there. John Dickinson is there. Larry Krueger is like coming up and telling me that he's on the show today. He goes, I'm coming on your show today. I'm like, you are? He goes, yeah, I am. I go, and then right after he said it, Luke is like, oh, by the way, Larry's coming on the show today.
That. Pretty cute. Social media Alex was there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Did I miss anyone?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
you're looking at me like I forgot somebody.
Well, I was going to guess on Alex's last name. I didn't want to get it wrong. I think it's Dickerson, but
Alex Dickerson?
That's way too many.
Yeah, come on, dude. He used to play left field for the Giants.
John Dickinson.
Yeah.
It's
Alex Espinoza.
What
you didn't know that?
Yes, I did.
Then you didn't correct me.
I walked in with him while you were getting your whole credentials situation all fixed. Alex and I took a nice little walk into camp together.
Doesn't mean you knew his last name.
No, it was good because I did know his last name, and he's not.
Only because you stared at his credentials.
Thank you, and because he's not as well known of a Bay Area media member. It was good because he looked like my handler as I walked in.
Look at you.
It was perfect.
And you need a handler.
This is my guy. Yeah, he gets me water when I need
one. Hold my bag and my ego. 2 hands on each.
Oh,
but it was a who's who.
It was fun. It was and what a beautiful day, and the music and the fans filling the stands and the energy out there. Like, one thing stands out to me, the 49ers, because I think they're so cared about, that automatically means there's controversy and there's opinions and the bing, 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 right? Like, people call the radio show and Trey and Brock and Kyle and fire him and he's a genius and fire him and he's a genius and all that. If you go to a camp day and fans, you all have the opportunity at, I'm told, very low prices in order to go do that. It's really worth your time because what you will see is an organization that's humming. Like, the positivity that kind of emanates out of the building, the confidence, the swagger, the chemistry, the way the guys kind of interact with one another. If you're a 49er fan, you should go one day just to, like, build your own confidence. You walk in there and you're like, oh, damn. Like, this is some high level, you know what, and it's just... Yeah, it's humming. There's just I don't know the way to describe it other than there's unbelievable energy in the building.
In terms of the energy, I'll just say this before we get into real football takes, and Larry Krueger will join us, and we can get into all of everything that we saw. But what I heard was a fan base that loves Trey Lance. Trey Lance broke contain on one play, and he ran about 15 yards around the outside. Pass protection was good, and the coverage was good, and so he pulled it down and he ran, and there was a from the crowd, and there's about maybe 300 people in that little makeshift bleacher, and the crowd went
on one
wild.
side or the other. Yeah,
our side.
Okay.
The other side, there was another maybe 400 or 500 standing room only. But when Trey did that, when he ran with the football, that was like the loudest cheer I heard all day.
Yeah, you're absolutely
right.
Fans
love Trey Lance.
They sure do, which is fascinating.
Sure.
Because you know why they love him? Because they've been told to. It's like going on a blind date and being in love before you get there. You ever watch the first episode of The Bachelor or whatever?
Yeah.
And everybody's all lined up, and then within 4 minutes, some woman is crying because she's met the soulmate of her life. It's like you've been with him for 38 seconds. What the hell is going on here? Well, the reason that 25 women or 25 men, whether it's The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, the reason that they all fall in love upon arrival is because they've been told this is a really wonderful, good-looking person, and they got all the measurables.
They can make all the throws.
And you're on TV, and your emotions get all going, and you're like, oh, my gosh.
I'm starting to tingle.
I think I'm in love.
Yeah.
No, you just met the person. Stop acting like a wackadoodle. So that's kind of what I'm getting at with the whole Trey Lance thing. I thought he looked good today. I do. I thought he made some really nice plays. Brandon Allen was the clear third best quarterback in camp today.
Agreed.
There were some things that could point in the direction of Sam. There's some things that could point in the direction of Trey. If based on our 36 minutes, you wanted to decide who was going to start a quarterback if Brock Purdy was sitting out. That's all I'd say about today. But I thought Trey did fine. He looked good. He does look a little bit more confident, a little bit more decisive. Then again, it's a handful of minutes of practice, not actual live game reps. So there's that side to it. But the resources that it took to get Trey Lance are really the only reason, I believe, that people sound the way that they do when he makes a play, which is such a fascinating dynamic to me because that's not real. It's not. I mean, the resources are real, but those resources are simply someone's opinion. That's all they are. You hear, as we approach the deadline, people all the time now, well, prospects in baseball. I give a rip about prospects. Why would I not give up all my prospects for Shohei Ohtani? Well, you know who prospects are? When they're ranked number 2 on Baseball America's list, they are assets. They are people who we have been told are going to be good someday. You blow them off in baseball, but not in football. Not in football, where guys do go straight from the draft to the lineup. But that's all that's it. We like Trey Lance because we've been told that we should.
Well, why do you like Marco Luciano? Not to get you into Giants baseball, but you're excited about tonight.
Well, and I'm excited. I was excited about Trey Lance. Who wasn't? Who wasn't excited at the start of last year? I went. Right. I flew to Chicago. I went to the game.
You would have gone anyway if it wasn't for Trey. You didn't fly there for Trey Lance.
That was one of my 7 reasons, like excitement about the season for the 49ers. Sure, the Niners and Giants were there at the same time. Good meeting spot for all my buddies. We have a fantasy draft.
Yes.
But, the
fact that Trey Lance was starting was an add-on to the trip.
No, but
nobody made that trip thinking, oh, boy, Trey Lance. That's why we're going.
We were excited about opening day.
Of course you were, yeah.
I wasn't like...
And you're excited about Luciano tonight, assuming that he is in the starting lineup, and you would figure that he is. He got called up.
But I'm excited to see him. I'm not excited to make a decision on him tonight.
Oh, you'd better. By tomorrow morning, you would better have a determination.
0 for 4, 3 Ks, and a ground out into a double play.
He's a bust. That's it. And if you're not willing to do that, then you're in the wrong business.
Do the resources matter?
They do matter.
Why?
Because the resources could have been used to help this team win a Super Bowl, and they have not won a Super Bowl. So the resources matter to the extent that you use them and you have not gotten anything back from those resources. And that's where, to me, the resources matter. Now, you've been competitive, you've been good, you've been great, but you haven't gotten over the hump. And so until you do, or if Brock Purdy turns out to be a great quarterback and you never win a Super Bowl, but Brock Purdy's a 10-year starter and he's a Pro Bowler and he's the best thing you've had since Steve Young. He's a great quarterback. Then the resources don't matter. But right now, they matter.
Yeah, I wonder because, for instance, a bunch of resources were given up for Christian McCaffrey. Nobody's bothered by those.
A bunch of resources, a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth.
A bunch of draft
Not
picks.
2 firsts.
Okay.
And I'll refer to the Jimmy Johnson trade chart in terms of what, 2 firsts equals about 10 seconds.
Yeah, but I'll refer you to the 49ers draft history and show you that 2 firsts might not even equal 1 second. You know what I mean?
Well, that becomes part of the problem, though, in terms of what we're talking about.
But that's the deal. That's the deal for every team.
It's the deal, but when you talk about this regime, they have mucked up in the first round a number of times. So when you trade 2 first-round picks that turn out to be worse than Reuben Foster, who actually played for you, worse than Solomon Thomas, who actually played for you, worse than Mike McGlinchey, who I think was a good Niner who had to eventually go elsewhere, but these picks that you never even were able to use at all, they become gigantic misses if Trey Lance is never a quarterback for you.
But that's funny to me because, no, they didn't. I can name, and
They're
you just
airballs.
And they've hurt the 49ers how?
They have not won the Super Bowl.
But they've been good the whole time.
Yeah, but maybe if you would have used that first-round pick on a tight end who could block or a fill-in-the-blank a cornerback who could have guarded Tyreek Hill in the Super Bowl,
it feels like a leap, though.
It's a bit of a leap.
It feels like a leap. Like if they had nailed that pick, they would have won the Super Bowl. Like, nah.
But they didn't have the pick, and they didn't win the Super Bowl.
If they had drafted Mahomes, and probably would have won the Super Bowl by now.
I don't think it's a leap.
They didn't make that pick.
I think it's easy to look at what they have done and what they haven't done. And when you have 2 first-round picks that you gave up for a guy who you don't really feel like can be your quarterback, that's a big mistake.
You ever make a bad investment?
Yeah, not like that, though.
Not like that. Okay, but
No.
do you ever make one? You ever made one where you're like,
I'm not big on investments. But,
okay.
I mean, honestly, yes. I've made some questionable decisions. Yeah, for sure. I mean, investment financially, I'm not big in the market.
Okay.
I've never done like Bitcoin or Ethereum.
But let's go bad decision. Once it's clear that it's a bad decision, how do you handle it?
You just get out if you can, and if you can't, then you ride it out to the end, and then you try to like learn from what you've done.
Yeah, like what
you lick wounds and you try to get better.
I'm sort of at that like, are we going to dwell on this? Like,
Shout out Ross Dwelly.
That's he almost ran into me today. Which is the scariest freaking thing you could ever do. Like at camp, you're just like, so Mike's over. What's going on? How are you? Wow, there's a 280-pound man in my lap. It's fun. Anyway, I think they run over there too fast on purpose because they want to go say hi to the fans. That's actually the coolest thing. All the kids are sitting, crisscross applesauce right there, right at the bottom of the barriers, and the players that go over there and give them all high fives after each play. Shout out to the players who do that.
Yeah.
Go out of their way to do that. It makes those kids' days. That's so awesome. But anyway, I guess that's where I'm at. Why would you dwell on it? You know what I mean? Like the 49ers, they'll never do this, but what if they did come out and they're just like, yeah, we messed that up. Whoops. Who cares? Do you all care about what they gave up for Trey Lance?
Yes.
I can't even say yet that they messed it up because it feels disrespectful to Trey Lance's career. But the journey has turned a certain way. They're good. They might have found gold in the 7th round. They are one of the Super Bowl favorites. They have danced in the Final Four 3 out of the last 4 years. I have the utmost confidence with how loaded they are, how loaded their roster is, that they are going to have another good this year. And those draft picks, which have now all been made, and my gosh, we could run a contest with listeners if you could tell us who actually used those picks that got that got sent out for Trey Lance. None of you would get the answer right. Maybe you, Grandy. None of you would get the answer right. None of you even know who those players are. I don't know, man. That's just kind of the way I consume this stuff. I don't care. You messed up, or it was a bad, like at minimum, even if Trey's great, you could say it was a bad trade because you didn't end up using him. So you messed up.
It matters.
But not to me.
Well, to me, it matters. Like if you look at the Warriors and James Wiseman, that doesn't matter because you won the championship. You had a guy who you drafted who turned out to not be very good in your system, and you won the title anyway. The dude played 0 minutes, and you won the championship. So that mark doesn't matter. The 49ers, you spent 2 first-round picks and a future third to move up to draft a guy who is not good enough to be your quarterback. He played 5 quarters, and now he's healthy, and Brock Purdy's healthy, but we don't even think about the fact that Trey Lance might be competitive to be the 1. He's fighting for his life to be the 2. That matters because you have not won the title.
You confuse me today.
At all. Not at all.
You do. You confuse me.
How?
Because
talk to me.
You have very clearly, we have been in lockstep for this whole time. We are not championship or bust fans.
We're not.
I am not that. You are not that.
No.
What you're saying to me right now sounds like championship or bust.
No, I'm not saying that at all.
Because if you're going to, your opinion about the 49er resources that they lost in the Trey Lance trade mattering is a very fair opinion. It is a completely fair opinion. But to not put the same opinion on the Warriors for James Wiseman is a head scratcher to me because, yes, they won a championship the next year, but how could you argue that 2nd overall pick, if used on a different player, couldn't totally be helping the Warriors right now or last year or into the future? If those resources which get misused matter, they matter. or they don't. It kind of has to be one or the other, and winning one championship versus falling just short, to me, is playing championship or bust mentality.
They fell well short. They didn't fall just short. They couldn't even get by Philadelphia. I mean,
FS1 has got a job offering. If you'd like to be a hot take artist.
They got run off the field at Lincoln Financial. They were never in that game.
No, they weren't because they didn't have a quarterback.
Well, Josh Johnson actually staked into a lead, and then he got hurt.
Say it again. They did not have a quarterback.
They had Josh Johnson.
Oh, my gosh.
Shout out Oakland.
They did not have
California.
A quarterback.
They had a quarterback until he got concussed. He was just fine.
They had a person who plays the quarterback position. They did not have a quarterback.
Well, then they had Brock Purdy, who couldn't throw, come in and play quarterback. Yeah. So my point is...
Which is crazy, by the way. I wonder how many people even remember that.
Right.
Guy went back in the game with no arm.
Yeah, exactly. And, oh, boy, 3rd and 11. Let's run the ball.
Dude, it's no different than Klay Thompson's free throws a few years ago.
Yeah, but that was 2 shots in a dead ball situation.
Right.
This was like a quarter and a half of football.
Just handing it off.
And you're down, and it's like 3rd and 11. Oh, yeah. Wait, they have one wide receiver on the field? They're going to run it, Jim.
I think there's a lot to say on both sides of this conversation. But for me, and I'm not a championship or bust fan, and I do like to at least try, and this is sports fandom and everything else, try like hell to do what is the advice that everyone always gets. Stay in the moment. All right, so just be here. There is absolutely nothing. When you walk into the 49er building right now, as a fan, I want for nothing. Now, you could say I want for Mahomes or Allen. You could do that. But, I mean, come on. There's an embarrassment of riches at almost every position. There is music blaring, guys dancing. There is fun and optimism oozing out of the place. I don't care what happened 2 years ago. I don't care. Like if the quarterback position by week 7 is a hot mess and it's just like Lance can't play and Purdy can't play and well, sure.
You'll care then.
Then I'll change my opinion.
Right.
But right now, today, I believe they've got something in Purdy, and I couldn't give a rip what they gave up for Lance. They messed up.
Well, maybe.
That's fine.
Maybe Trey Lance can still be the backup. But from what I've seen and what we have seen in terms of what they've done as an organization, and even today, when Trey Lance threw one of his 2 or 3 balls straight in the dirt, I actually looked at Kyle Shanahan, and Kyle Shanahan was very quick to point where Trey Lance should have thrown the football. He's like, dude, the throw was over here, and Trey Lance walked away because it wasn't his rep anymore. And I don't feel like Kyle Shanahan has a lot of patience for what Trey Lance has done. I know Kyle spoke to the media after we had left. We'd grabbed our free sandwiches and we went about our business. But I look forward to hearing some of the Kyle Shanahan sound from today about day one.
We got some.
Of course.
Maybe the most interesting thing he said was when he was asked about having 4 quarterbacks.
4?
Number 4.
4.
He's got 4?
He does. He has 4, which he's never had before. I don't know if people realize that. You don't just give reps to 4 different people at quarterback in an NFL training camp. Not normally. So he was asked about that and had an interesting answer. We'll play that for you in just a little bit. Yeah, there was a lot of interesting stuff being said. There was a lot of interesting stuff being done. But, like, to me, it's all just, it's weeds. And hack them out. When we get to the season, let's play ball. And if the 49ers are good, I don't care how you got here. And I'll admit, just based on many fans I've spoken to through the years, I come from a little bit of a different place on this kind of stuff. I bake in your draft mistakes. I don't want to show up the next day after you made a mistake. I'm going to hold your feet to the fire.
Oh, you should.
Because I am a great reporter, and I am not worried about my relationships or access, so I am going to come at you 49ers because you have made an error. Yeah, good for you.
This is a big error.
I mean, my God, yes.
This is Bill Buckner.
Right.
Is what it is.
But it's Bill Buckner with the ball through the legs, and then your team came back in the 9th and won anyway.
Well, you didn't win anyway.
Well, but you did. Like, the 49ers are winning. They are a winning organization. It's a good team. They went 8-0 with somebody nobody had ever heard of.
It's 7-1 as a starter.
Well, whatever.
It's been a neat little run.
That's where I am not going to go championship or bust. And I've said this with all of our teams every single year. I will take consistency to the end of the playoffs over one championship and then a bunch of junk. Every single forget Ohtani for 2 months. I want him for 10 years.
Yeah.
Give me a sustainable winner. And the 49ers have done that. And that's good enough for me. They're going to get over the top one of these times.
You would hope. And if they do, then the Trey Lance gack goes away. But if they don't get over the top, I'm not going to sit here and just applaud them for giving up 3 first-round picks for a guy that you can't play.
I'm not applauding them. I'm
going to rip them. And that's what I'm going to do.
Then that's fine. It's a fair rip. They made a mistake, it appears.